special conversation because we are talking two of the most influential Creole families to ever come through New Orleans as far as restauranting and food goes. We're celebrating them because we didn't have the Jazz Fest this year. So a lot of people are just talking about the music and so on and so forth. We want to bring to you the people that bring the food to you, the delicious food, I should say, that is sold at the Jazz Fest. Tonight, we have Vaucresson, which is Vance and Julie Vaucressons, and the Baquet family, Wayne and Arkesha. And they are going to discuss their family history, the things they have overcome with being Black people that have owned restaurants in a segregated world, I guess you could say. So tonight, we're going to talk to Vance and Julie and Wayne and Arkesha. Let's get started with the families. Good evening, you guys. How are you doing?
Good evening.
Hello.
It is such a pleasure to be here with you guys. The fact that we have all been friends for years makes this even better because it's a comfortable aspect. And we're gonna get started with the family history. When did when did you guys get started approximately?
My grandfather was a butcher by trade, and he had a stall in the St. Bernard Market, which is now the Circle Food Store.
Mhm.
And we started around 1899 in regards to establishing our trade as butchers in the city.
Okay, what kind of obstacles did your grandparents have to overcome to get this started?
Well, having started the stall in the St. Bernard Market, back then in the 7th Ward, it was a very mixed community. It was very mixed in regards to, you had the Italians living next door to the Irish, living next door to the white French Creoles, living down the street from the Creoles of color. So it was a place where a lot of people did commerce. They had their services established. And my grandfather, after they privatized the St. Bernard Market and went to the Circle, he moved down on the corner of Johnson and St. Bernard, where the old Corpus Christi Credit Union was, to establish his own meat market. A lot of the challenges that we had came probably once you started to see that when you had what we in the Black community call white flight, when they left the 7th Ward, a lot of white people and went off to the suburbs. We were a very close-knit community in there, so we actually had it where our dollar stayed within the 7th Ward because we had a lot of those businesses that patronized. A lot of people could patronize each other in that area, especially before. A lot of people don't realize how beautiful and how wonderful it was even before they put up the interstate, which has become a point of contention for so long and has come back into the news. But that area, that economic engine, that dollar traveled probably maybe 9 to 12 times before it left the neighborhood. And unfortunately, after integration, after people started to feel like they had the opportunity to do business outside of our community, well, our spending dollar didn't go around and patronize as many people as it was. But being come from a family of self-made men and businesses, you evolve. Every generation evolves. I'm a 3rd generation. I want to believe Wayne is a 3rd generation. And when you look at multi-generational businesses, when you take up that mantle, each generation has to look at its current situation and decide on how its brand is going to stay relevant. Okay. And as we talk about it, you'll see that in both of our stories that, we've evolved, most definitely.
Yeah, you guys are definitely involved. Okay, Wayne, same question. When did your family get started and what kind of obstacles did you have to face?
My grandfather started with his aunt at Paul Gross's Chicken Coop in 1940s, 47 or something like that. And it was his aunt and his uncle's restaurant, but he learned the trade then. While he was doing other things, he was a postman. He did construction. And he took a big chance in 1966, mortgaged his house and opened up Eddie's Restaurant on Law Street. And that's when what I've kind of inherited is this long lineage of restaurants that my family have had. And my grandfather really is the start of, what I've inherited, I guess. And he took a big chance, and he was part of, helping the civil rights movement. He had a lot of sit-in people who were doing protests. He would feed them and hide them and do things like that. So that was his part of being part of that civil rights movement that was going on. And my dad's kind of taken the reign from him and evolved us in so many different aspects of restaurants. He's been in Kraus, he's been at Suno, he was in the Plaza, he was, uptown or in Carrollton with Zachary's restaurant. And the latest one that we have, Lil Dizzy's, was his retirement gig. He retired for a year and wasn't happy, so he decided to come back, and he did that for 16 years before he decided to retire finally.
Yeah, I can see your dad not sitting still, because every time I've gone to like Eddie's or Dizzy's, man, he's running around there like I've never seen anybody run around.
Right.
I got tired watching him.
Yeah, he has a lot of energy, and he still probably has a lot, still trying to figure out what to do with it. But it's been over to your other question about what obstacles. Being a Black-owned business in the city of New Orleans it hasn't been easy. I mean, you really, it's hard to get funding, financing. It's really at this stage in 2021, my dad really started, even before a couple of years ago, he started getting recognized nationally. I mean, but it took a long time, a lot of hard work. My father is the real restaurateur in the family. My grandfather kind of started it, but my dad put us in the restaurant side of the business. Right. My grandfather had a bar that sold po' boys, basically, and he would feed the construction workers, the contractors, the bricklayers. They drink their beer and have a po' boy. And then when my dad got involved, he said, we need to do more. And he added a lot of different things. And then, eventually we were second by a lot of years to Vaucresson, but we got in the Jazz Fest. And that gave him a lot of notoriety. But I think Vance's family was already in it for 10 years. But we've been in it for a long time. And my dad's done fried chicken there. He's done, right now we're doing trout baquet and crawfish bisque and gumbo. So one thing about my dad, he's a businessman, and he always tried to do a lot of different things. He was one of the first ones in Essence Fest. So he's always been a part of the community and doing things and being part of developing the culture, the cooking culture, the Black experience in New Orleans. So.
Yes, you guys are definitely synonymous with the Black cooking culture. Trust me, if you don't have some good Eddie's food or some good Dizzy's food or some Vaucresson hot sausage, man, you're not eating.
That's right. That's right.
You have food from these families. So guys, you're listening. When you come to New Orleans, you have to check out Lil Dizzy's, and you've got to check out Vaucresson's. That is without a doubt. Now, Vance, you and I talked before about your dad, Sonny, or as I call him, Uncle Sonny. When he became a restaurateur, what was the obstacle? Because I know he had the very first Black-owned restaurant on Bourbon Street, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us about what he had to endure to become the first Black restaurateur on Bourbon?
Well, around 1964, he had an opportunity to start a business on Bourbon Street. And it's technically, it was the first business owned by a person post-Reconstruction on Bourbon Street, okay, a person of color. It was a partnership with the guy that had the building. His name was Larry Borenstein. And Larry Borenstein was an art gallery dealer. And he had a lot of property in the quarter. And he just so happened to have this building at 624 Bourbon, which was the Fontaine House historically. And my dad, it's interesting. If you look at the similarities generationally, my grandfather was a butcher by trade. Wayne's grandfather did so many things and started this business. And then the second generation was the truly entrepreneurs. Like, my dad decided he was going to open a restaurant in the quarter with this partner, and it was Vaucresson's Cafe Creole. It was around for about like 10 years until the actual quarter and the Bourbon Street kind of changed. But it was just another example of we tried to just put what we considered authentic food by people of color in the city of the Creole tradition. I mean, we weren't trying to reinvent the wheel. And I think that, when I look at the Baque traditions and some of the other restaurants in the city that come out of those traditions, there's a lot of commonalities because we're just trying to show our best foot forward in terms of our history, our traditions, and our palates. And I want to say this, when I was listening to Wayne, he's talking about his dad. I was there with all of those things. I was at that first Essence meeting, and guess who I sat next to? I sat next to Wayne, and Wayne was looking at me, and Wayne said, "Man, you think this is gonna work?" And I was like, "Wayne, we're gonna be here to find out." And all through my life and those experiences with Jazz Fest, I remember when Wayne told me about, he asked my dad about it, and my dad told him he needed to get in it, and then even with the French Quarter Fest. I remember he said, "Man, your dad told me," I asked him about the French Quarter Fest. And my dad said, "Wayne, don't you miss out on that money. You better come get it." And but I always tease Wayne because Wayne to me has become the Creole Don. See, every time I see Wayne, I pick up his hand and I look for the ring because I got to kiss the ring because you got to realize that is our Don within the Creole community. And at first he used to pull that hand away. He wouldn't let me kiss it. But I think he got used to it. So now he goes in and let me kiss the ring. That's how I look at him in such high esteem. So, one of the things that we tried to do and go back to your question, my dad, obviously my dad was a very fair-skinned man with light blue eyes. So a lot of people mistook him for white. Now, he never passed. He wasn't Passa Blanc. But his thing was, and especially with white people back in the 60s or 50s, if you get to know me as a man, you assume I'm not Black and you do business with me. I'm not going to take the business away or I'm not going to decline it. But if you then ask me what I am, I'm going to tell you. In a lot of instances that happened. And when the word got out that we want to open up the business on Bourbon Street,
But people,
one of the things
I'm sorry to interrupt, Vance.
Yeah.
I just want to tell the people that are not from here, when you said Poisson Blanc, it basically a Black person that is passing for white. Poisson Blanc.
Right.
That's a New Orleans saying.
The New Orleans saying. And
I want everybody to understand exactly what it was what it meant when you said that.
No, I understand. So there's a meeting when we about to open at the Quarter Two Sisters. Larry Bornstein, my dad, went, and a white gentleman that owned the building a couple doors down came in, and he was looking around the room before the meeting started, and he was basically saying to my dad and to Larry, because he knew my dad already, got to know him, was doing business with him. He said, "Look, I'm looking for him. Where is he?" And my dad, Larry, said, "Who you talking about?" And I'm going to say the word that the man said. He said, "Where's that nigga?" Because he thinks he can come on to the French Quarter and do business, and we're not going to have that. Our property value is going to go down and all this stuff, and there's people going to think they can patronize our businesses. Well, Larry started laughing, right, because he knew the setup. So my dad, Larry, said, "Well, look, I know him. I'm going to introduce you to him." So the guy's looking around, he said, "Yeah, where is he? I want to meet him." So he said, "Man, you know that my Sonny, right?" He said, "Yeah, I know Sonny." He said, "Well, that's the new nigga on Bourbon Street." And my dad said the man turned real red in the face, didn't say nothing, got up and left, right? Before the meeting even started. My dad said he'd see him all the time, but he would walk across the street, he'd avoid him. And my dad said, "Son, he didn't avoid me because he was racist. He was avoiding me because he was embarrassed because he got to know my character. He liked me as a man, he couldn't face me anymore." And I think that if we start looking at the true essence of some of this hatred and division, we really realize that, people just need to get to know our character and know that we're just like everyone else and that we can be just whatever we want to be and be great people. So that's kind of the racism we dealt with there. That was one instance of it.
Wow. Man, that's incredible. Every time I hear it, I get chills when I hear that story about I'm surprised that I'm about to say Uncle Sonny. I'm surprised your dad didn't knock him out when he called him the N word. I'm surprised. Now, Wayne, your great great aunt Adebake Gross, she had the first 24-hour black restaurant, which was called Paul Gross Chicken Coop. It was on Bienville and North Roman. It's 24 hours. And it had air conditioning. One of the very first places to have air conditioning.
Right.
How was that restaurant received by, I guess you could say, white people?
Probably, I don't think it was frequented by white people. It was a black establishment.
Mhm.
It was in the Green Book, where you travel to. And it was an establishment for black folks, for our people. And it did well. Fried chicken is, we known for our fried chicken. It started way back then. I don't know how good it was back then. I don't know if it's good as we make it today, but it's been a staple of our. So we never really had anything to deal with discrimination because it was a black business. Not until like in Eddie's, which was in the 60s or actually the 70s, is when white folks started frequenting our restaurant. And it was because it got on the map. It was popular. People would come in from all over. And because different celebrities ate there and they mentioned us at different times. So, and it was a little hole in the wall in the Seventh Ward, little bitty restaurant, though, not big, didn't have parking. You had to park around the corner and all that to get to it. You had to fight through all the St. Aug and the Brother Morton guys to get in there, right? Right. Had to represent. So it was just like Little Dizzy's is today. It's a neighborhood place. But now, because my dad has established all these brands, and Little Dizzy's is the biggest brand that he's able to establish, it's national, and sometimes it's international. But my wife could tell you all the people that visit from all different parts of the country, Colorado, Wisconsin, and the good thing about what they're doing is they come in the first time and then they leave and they stop by again because they say it's the best thing that they experience, because everything else that they experience is really not as authentic. And, we found our ground at Little Dizzy's where we're more authentic than we've ever been. My dad had to fight a lot of different things. Like one of the places, he was in a plaza and he had a nice business, but he was going up against Morrison's, and Morrison's went out of business and Piccadilly bought him. So then Piccadilly, and he wasn't serving his authentic food because he was trying to compete. But at Little Dizzy's, where we are in Treme, this is us. This is where we are. This is where, down the street from where Vaucresson started, down the street from where they're gonna be. Yeah. So it's I do want to give Vance a lot of credit for and when my dad retired, he called him the Creole Don, I think that's what he just said. And that showed a lot of respect from his family that we've been knowing our whole lives to have, for him to have that kind of feelings for my father. So I wanted to thank him for that. It really made me feel good and made my dad feel good.
Man, that's incredible. Now, what are some of your fondest memories coming up being around that type of business with your fathers? And were they training you guys to take over the bit, to possibly take the businesses over, which you have done? Were they training you for that? When you could take that one first.
Okay. I grew up in the business. People don't necessarily believe me, but I was about 5 when I started. So I got like a pension already. No, but truly, I used to go on the weekends and clean the storeroom at 5. And my grandfather was the boss. Both of them were there, and I got to experience how my grandfather did things. I saw him cutting his chicken on the block and everything, and just doing everything that he did to make Eddie's and my dad did to make it a brand and make it people respect it. And I saw my dad do great things. I saw him struggle. I saw him, we had some family differences over the years because there was 2 brothers and grandfather, and you struggle. And, so I've experienced all of that stuff. And when I finished college, I was really in the background with my dad. I didn't. I did a lot of his business transactions for him, things like that. But he was out on his own, and I had a career totally separate. So, but the whole time, he don't necessarily understand how he was grooming me because I saw him do his work every day. Nobody in my eyes worked harder than my father ever. I mean, he worked 7 days a week. We'd have holidays, and he'd have, Mother's Day is a big day. He'd be at Mother's Day, Easter, all those days. So he taught me a big work ethic, and he taught me how to respect people. That's the other thing. We come from a modest family, but there's people who work for us that come from less, and I have a respect for them, and that's propelled me in my career. So when I deal with employees in my own company that I run, it's, I have this built in me from my father to respect all walks of life, wherever they come from, whatever they have to bring to the table. So my dad has helped me in my career as a CEO of a company, and he's prepared me for what we've just recently taken on. Me and Keisha, just taken on Little Dizzy. So he's done a lot for me.
A lot of people are really happy that you guys took it over, because when your dad announced that he was retiring and Little Dizzy was going to be no more, man, the state radio station I work at, we announced that, and we got so many calls saying this cannot happen.
Some people might think that we planned this, but in reality, it's a big undertaking. We had our whole lives going on without Little Dizzy's because my daddy ran it. It wasn't like it was a transition that we were going through. But when we realized that it was ending and people weren't happy about that, and we said, you know what, we got to at least take this opportunity and try. And I got to give all credit to my wife, Keisha, because she's taking it and she runs it. I'm just kind of in the background again, and she has the personality for it to take it to that next level. That my dad has such a great foundation for this. It's unreal. So it's a little pressure not to mess it up on her part, but I think she's doing good.
So Keisha, what is it like now that you've taken it over?
It's awesome. My father-in-law pretty much rolled out the red carpet for me. I was able to take over the restaurant. The blessing that I had is that I've been in a Bakke family going on 22 years. And I got the opportunity when my father-in-law had Dizzy's on Polders, where I was the general manager of that restaurant for 2 years, from 2010 to 2012. So I have some restaurant experience, and he trained me during those 2 years to run that restaurant. And then I've had the pleasure of watching him run Dizzy's all these years. So it just kind of worked for me to be the person that would take over the restaurant. And I'm very excited that I have my father-in-law and mother-in-law still here to see their legacy continue. That means a lot to me.
I applaud you. I definitely applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Now, Vance, you and Uncle Sonny, how did you learn from him, and what made you decide to come and revitalize Vaucresson?
Well, I mean, Wayne kind of told the tales of these family businesses with children. The children may work for free and very young. I think I started around 8, and I was in there, and you working for your dinner basically. And but it says something to be on the periphery of these men and the other people, and to watch, and to really. I didn't realize what I was learning when I was learning it, and I worked up to a certain point, and then went away to school for college, and then literally when I was about to graduate, I was going to work somewhere else, and my dad came and made a plea. He was like, "Look, I need your help." I had 2 older brothers that really their time had come and gone if they were going to be interested, and he wanted to at least try to leave something moving forward. And so I came back, was thrown into a situation. We were a USDA inspected meat plant at the time, and it was small, but we had gotten and grown into distribution in the grocery stores and doing some food service and things like that. So we concentrated on that business side there. And then when I came back, my dad turned over the Jazz Fest to me. He said, I want you to run it. And he kind of took it away from my brothers. And anytime you have siblings, it can get very interesting. Everybody has their own idea. I knew the history with Wayne and his brother, and then the other thing, Wayne left and came back into the business. And this is something that when you have siblings, you're going to deal with. It's never easy. But I came back to go to Jazz Fest, and then my dad was kind of like, what the old man didn't know, I went and sought out the information to help him to take and secure it. And for the 7 years I got to work with him before he died in 98 was all I really wanted on a day-to-day was to be there with him and to work with him as a mature person. We fought every day. I don't know about Wayne. I know me and my dad, if we didn't fight every day, people thought something was wrong, right? It was that old conventional way and my way trying to bring in the new theory and everything. But there were times where we laughed together, we cried together, and in a couple of instances, if you're on the corner of St. Bernard and Roman, you may have to fight together because the neighborhood is just that way. But it was a blessing, and I think that I going into this new venture where we're going to do a retail concept, a cafe deli. I remember when Mr. Wayne, I called him up after the news and just kind of told him, sorry and everything. And, just all of the things I want to tell him. I said, look, I need to bend your ear. I'm gonna need whatever advice you can give me. Say, man, whatever you need, just come ask me, I'll help you out. And that in itself, coming from him, just meant so much. And had the opportunity to ask your elders and those that experienced who are willing to give you the information. Just very thankful and humbling. So we're just going to try to, in the traditions of these great Creole restaurateurs, we're just going to try to have a business that puts out good food, good sausage products. And the main thing is engage the community, because one thing, even at the festival, if you go by the Bouquet booth, if you go by the Vaucresson booth, the reason they have lines and the reason they have people coming back every year is because we engage them the way we do in New Orleans, in our community. We engage them with a smile. We ask them about their mama. We ask them if they do all right. And it leaves them with that feeling of what we know as our cultural traditions and our history and what makes our businesses what they are. So I'm going to try to do the same, because I know every time I walked into Dizzy's, Mr. Wayne would come and give me a smile, or the other people with the staff who've been so well trained to greet and to give you that personable attitude. It sets the standard. So we're going to hope to be able to continue those traditions moving forward.
Okay. Julie, what part are you taking in this? What are you running? What is your role? What are you doing with the new ventures that you guys are going into and your present ventures?
Well, I like to say that I'm the manager of everything, because pretty much everything that he doesn't want to do, I do. In addition to basic organization and putting all of the systems in place, that's my biggest role right now. Okay. When I didn't know 20 years ago that this relationship wasn't just a relationship, it was a movement, and that it was going to be all encompassing from personal work, everything meshed together. But as he said, he would fight with his daddy. He's kept that tradition alive with me, and we're making it work.
Vance, you better hold on to that lady, because boy, we grew up together. I know how you are.
Yeah, the one thing I want to do is I want to make sure that, and I see it happening with the Bouquets as well. When you have a great partner, you want to take that partner and you want to make sure that the brand of that partner is pushed forward to the front, because they can stay in the back as much as they want, but they have so many great talents. They're so personable. They're beautiful. So me and Wayne ain't stupid. We're going to put them pretty ladies in the front. And look, anybody that comes and you want to come in, and that's fine with us, because we know, that's truly the beauty of our brand, and we want to make sure that it's represented well.
Good men are made by great women.
That's right.
Women.
That's right. That's right.
Now, I'm going to touch on a subject which is very touchy for all of us, which is close to all of us. 2005, Katrina. How did Katrina affect your business and your families when it happened? Vance, you can start off with that.
Well, you know, when you're a small business, and unless you have such great forethought in terms of crisis management to say, oh, well, if this happens, we're going to plan for this and we're going to have these insurance vehicles to take care of this. Well, Katrina was very unique. You know, when I came in, I tried to do a lot to try to make sure that we had certain things in place. You know, my dad ran it real close. And so I tried to incorporate certain things in organization. And, you know, we got some insurance to cover this. So we tried to make sure that, you know, we put our, you know, when he died really in 98, we tried to make sure that from an estate issue that, you know, everything was clean, you know, we planned for, you know, that next generation after me. I tried to have that forethought, but nothing in terms of Katrina that we could have planned for. I mean, I didn't have enough flood insurance. I had a whole bunch of other insurance, but then the insurance company said, oh, you've got flood exclusions. So then I go and I realized I didn't have enough flood. Then, you know, the way my dad did the business, you know, we put, me and my brother had shares, right? So my brother didn't have anything to do with the business. So now you have to go and do SBA disaster loans. You have to try to do things to keep, you know, those, like Wayne said, it's hard for small businesses, especially Black businesses, to get the funding to move on and do different things. So even in that situation, it was really about, you know, siblings not seeing eye to eye, which kind of kept us from going after certain things that could have probably made this journey a little easier. And so, you know, it made us have to step back. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, we went ahead and evacuated to New Iberia. My wife's family is from New Iberia and they had land out there. And, you know, I really didn't know. I was like, you know what, I might just walk away from this, you know, because how do you recover where, you know, you got your place is flooded, your house is flooded, you know, some rental properties that were flooded. I mean, we had nothing, you know, and it wasn't until probably I started getting calls or people were trying to reach out from me saying, Quint called me, Quint Davis called me and said, man, we're going to do Jazz Fest. I said, what? And like in 2006, I was like, I don't even have a place to make sausage. He said, well, if you can find a place and we need you back. So, you know, I found a place and created some new relationships just to get product on the street. But Katrina turned my life around. But what it did was it made you realize that if you're going to do this, you know, and if you're going to not give up, you can make it through this storm. And it's been, shoot, since Katrina, I've tried everything to get my buildings back. Especially my building on the corner of Roman and St. Bernard. I put together 2 different deals, development deals. They failed. This third one just happened to work out. You know, the village stepped up and made it work. And I was just thankful, you know. And so now I'm just so committed to try to keep that momentum going, but try to do it in a smart way. You know, I mean, just trying to get all the information and put it in a place where it could survive and be productive. So I'm just thankful in a way that I went through that horror, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But hopefully soon we'll be moving past it and into a new chapter.
God bless us all so good, trust me. And you will be getting it, trust me. It will definitely happen. Wayne, same thing. How did Katrina affect you and your family and your business?
Our story is a little different because I wasn't in the business. So I could tell you how it affected me. Then I could tell you how it affected my father. So personally, we lost everything. We went whatever off of Franklin Avenue. Our house was flooded, Gentilly. And I had just been promoted to president of our company 3 days before Hurricane Katrina. So and we were shut down. So it was a major undertaking. My family lived in Atlanta and I visited every 2 weeks, but I started off on the floor at the company that I worked for. Then I got a RV and just different people were helping me out. And but it made me a lot stronger and it helped really inspire my father because he was in Atlanta with my sister to get up and open up Little Dizzy's, because it had only been open for about 6 months when Katrina messed it up. And we were very blessed that it didn't flood, or it didn't flood horribly. It had some damage, but nothing horrible. So he was able to overcome that. I think they were using it as a kennel or something. It was commandeered, and it was using it as a kennel for animals or something for a little while. But then he came in and cleaned it up. It took him, it took him like 6 months, and I think he was open for Jazz Fest. And my dad is just super resilient. And Vance probably has a lot of what my dad has in him, because he's been in the business running it and been knocked down. Keisha and I are really just getting in it, so but we've seen it from afar, how my father's overcome obstacles, and that was one big obstacle. And he just really did some really positive stuff, and the community loved him. And he had President Bush come visit, when he met with the mayor. That helped him. He was on the cover of Oprah's magazine. I mean, he was all over the place. So it kind of, in a lot of ways, propelled him. And he was blessed because the damage wasn't as bad. He overcame personally very quickly, and he was able to reestablish his business. So it wasn't, I know it was a hardship for him, and it was almost a knockout punch, but we saw other people, and he saw what I was doing. I was going to work every, traveling back and forth, trying to build something that I had just basically got a promotion about, and I'm trying to get things back on track. So.
Okay, now sticking with obstacles. We're going to fast forward to 2020 and COVID. Wayne, how has COVID affected your daily operation? Your father's been.
So my father was, the last 3 years before COVID was probably the 3 busiest. I mean, he was on, just everything was coming together, and it's happening. And he's in his 70s, right? I'm saying, Dad, how long are you gonna do this? He's like, man, it's easy now. It's like I did all the hard work, all the pilot. He would work 3 days a week, and whatever. He had his own style, and it worked for him, right? And then COVID hit, and my dad's like, I'm all right, I'm gonna be fine. It shouldn't last long. And then when it kept extending, he said, man, I really don't want to go back. And he offered for Keisha and I to take over the restaurant back in April or May or something like that. And we contemplated, and we like, and again, because I have a career, I have this company that I run with 1,000 employees. I'm like, man, I don't know what's happening with us yet. This is my career. So I was like, I don't know if I should do this. So anyway, he was blessed enough to make meals they were making these meals that they were serving at a church. And he did that all the way till November with a skeleton crew. In fact, it was a family business. Me and my 2 kids and Keisha, we made all the meals for him, because I was trying to do my part to help my father out. So we did, and ran through it, and it ended in November. And that's when he decided that he was done, that he wasn't able to come back. And so when Keisha and I reopened and started planning on it, we said, we can't do the buffet. We got to change how we doing it. We're not as experienced as my dad to handle all of the aspects of breakfast and lunch
And a buffet.
And a buffet. So we streamlined it. We went just for lunch. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to pull on what we did at Eddie's and making po' boys. We're going to pull on some other parts of our history. And we created this concept where you basically walk up and order, and we bring you your food, and it's all in takeout plates. And we designed that because of COVID. And it's, again, we've just been lucky or blessed or whatever. It's working fine for us. And it kind of actually gives a little more character than, serving with, having table service and all of that. It's like, it's all about the food at the end of the day. We went back to the old chicken boxes. like we used to do back in the day. So we got, so we did that on purpose.
That was Wayne's idea.
Actually, that's the only idea I had that with that worked.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. So we've been blessed that my dad, and one of the things that I gotta say about him, generations, like Vance, his father, worked with him and left him a business, right? And I'm sure it had a lot of work to do to clean it up, like you say, with family. With my dad, who's, younger, but also been around, since 1998, when your dad passed in 98, right? So my dad's been doing so he had all this stuff in order. So the transition was like, I'm proud of the fact that he could transition and he don't need me to help him. And that's a testament to him, that he could retire, walk away, and knowing all I got to do is feed him whenever he wants something to eat, and he did that for me and my family forever, so I could do that for him all day long. So that's a proud moment that he's able to walk away from that like that.
Yeah, I'm happy you guys kept it open because I had that shrimp plate with the double potato salad. Good thing you didn't have the buffet. Well, I don't need the buffet, so.
That's it.
All right, Vance, how has COVID affected with you and Julie and the business?
Good. You good.
Well, in a way, it was a blessing in disguise for us because it made us look at how we were doing things and totally change everything. We would supply restaurants. We started doing direct to consumer sales and just different marketing things that we started to take a look at, reevaluate the business and change. And that's what it's about. You have to adapt.
Yeah, unfortunately, we both we both had COVID at one point. So it really, it made us, look at everything going on and then you had to do what?
But thank God you guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And but it's yeah. I think the connection but I did hear you. But when these things happen, like Katrina kind of got us ready for COVID. It's like, okay, here's something else. It's gonna shut us down. It's gonna do this. So you just got to, keep your head on the swivel, adapt. And so we're looking at this as a way to say, you know what, we're gonna approach this retail. We're gonna start developing some peripheral entities that work alongside what we're doing to develop some different revenue streams. Because before Katrina, we had all our eggs in one basket. So we wanted to make sure that we kind of look out there and spread some things and look at the talents we have. I want some things I'm developing for my wife to kind of push her out there and brand her, and which could create some things. So we're just gonna hustle. I think the thing about when you hear us tell our story about Mr. Wayne and my dad, let's call it what it is. They were hustlers. My daddy, my grandfather were gamblers. They both went to the track. My grandfather, played cards and all that. I don't, I'm not. Mr. Wayne probably just got high off of doing business and making money. So he
went to the track. He was at the track too.
All right. So.
Oh yeah, he was at the track.
He loves the track.
Oh yeah.
But people got to realize that was a part of our culture. So I'm not going to look at that as bad. I grew up out there. My dad used to babysit me out there. I used to see Oliver Thomas out there with his daddy because my dad were friends. At one time I opened up a drawer when my dad died and it had rings, watches, guns. Before ATM, guys, if you needed money, they say, Sonny, give me 300 for this so I could, this is a part of our culture. It's a beautiful part, but, but again, you adapt. And when you had a parent who was a hustler, because I remember I have so many memories of Mr. Wayne. When I go to Plaza, he would be outside.
Try and get business, right?
When he went in that door by Plaza, they had him on one side, and like he said, he put Morrison's out of business, but then they had to reload and bring. But he would be out there with a plate, showing you what he had, giving samples. I used to be looking. I said, man, that man, he hustles. When he was at Krause, I remember going to the Krause counter. He'd be behind there with his long white apron, hustling. Even at Zachary's, when Zachary was open, it was like the reinventing of himself, adapting. He was just a hustler. He was not going to give up. I can't give up when you have men like this on the periphery. How could I look at Mr. Wayne's face if he saw me on the street if I gave up? He'd like, man, you wasn't made that way. You know what I'm saying? So, and to know that, you know, that Wayne, his son, is and Wayne, let me tell you, I'm gonna say this. I have a lot of respect for Wayne. He's a very smart man, and you know, he works with another gentleman I admire and I grew up with, John Georges, and for what he's been able to accomplish at this stage of the game, you know, I have the utmost respect for him. So when they came back and they're doing the things they're doing, I can only imagine the potential for the Little Dizzy's brand or whatever else they're gonna concoct. Because trust me, the Baquet family, his dad was smart, his grandfather. It's just a matter of just, you know, what they're gonna do. And look, I gotta say, you know, that Baquets, they not only that, great musicians in that family. They were some of the great jazz musicians. And I got to give Dean his props. Dean, the editor of what is it, Los Angeles Times. I mean, I'm gonna give it to you. Creole families, you know, we had our due. We brought something to our culture, and we went out to the world and contributed. So, you know, when you're on the periphery of such great families.
Yeah, I want to make you laugh. So when I first started at Imperial, my first like week, not even week, I don't even know if I started there yet. I was in the interview. They asked me if I knew Sonny Vaucresson. That's what they asked me. Like, that's the one guy they knew that they figured I would know. It's like, and your dad, you know, I wasn't that close to him.
We were in the cigarette distribution business.
You're in the cigarette
distribution. That's how I got to know John and his dad. We used to go pick up the cigarettes. To go
That's right.
My dad had cigarette machines in the ILA hall and all those ballrooms. And so, you know, that was one of those things that one of his hustles, you know. So it's interesting because back then was a young John on the dock, and Constantine even said he used to work in the warehouse. So you get to meet all of these people, and now, you know, I've been fortunate enough because of that relationship that, you know, Constantine.
You know how things, you know how things go around, and they were so close. John's father, Dennis, Mr. Dennis, was close with your father, Sonny, big time, and you know, it gave me credibility when I walked in there that I was a Creole guy. Baquet, right? I'm serious. They was like, they're like, you know, Sonny, and it gives you, and it's funny how things, your connection with my father, you know, your father's connection with the company that I've been with for 31 years. I mean, they did a lot of business together. You know, I heard all kind of stories about Sonny and how he did business with them and how our families are back today on the screen together. It's just amazing how all of that comes together.
That's the one true thing about people from New Orleans. We all work hand in hand. All of our families know each other some kind of way.
That's right.
Without a doubt. Now it seems like COVID is winding down and things are somewhat getting back to normal. What are some of your future endeavors and what kind of new branding things do you guys have for your businesses? When you can take that first.
I'm gonna let Keisha take that because she's in charge of, and she's our marketing department right now. Right? So, I'll let her take that one.
Well, what we're doing at the restaurant, we're working in a new system because, as Wayne mentioned, Dizzy's was a buffet. They had breakfast. They were open 7 days a week. Our change at this time is that we're only open for lunch, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Saturday. So that's different for the community, an adjustment for them to make because they were so used to being able to come to Dizzy's any day and having breakfast or coming on a Sunday after church. So that's an adjustment that they've had to make at this moment. We are not in a position to give them that at the moment. So what we're delivering is the same amazing foods that they were used to from Dizzy's. The branding part is that we want to continue to let Dizzy's grow because it is so popular and it is moving back very quickly and things are going well. But we are totally open to expanding when the time comes because we feel like Dizzy's has the credibility and the product that can do that. But that is a good ways down the line. We're going to work this thing out as it is at the moment.
Right.
Come to New Orleans because we need something good.
Right. We may expand our hours, our menu, but we want to make it about the food and about the hospitality that Vance articulated. Basically, when you come in, your experience is going to be just like you get at Vaucresson, but nowhere else. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't. It's going to be so authentic that you cannot make it up. And we couldn't have a Baquet restaurant without a Baquet running it. And that's what Keisha is doing. We have some amazing staff. We have a chef that's really strong. We have management, that has put things in place. But Keisha's there, and she's been with our family for over 22 years. So she knows about it. And you'll see me every now and then. But for the most part, keeping this legacy going, it's not easy. It's not like buying a chain. And we're not looking to expand locations. We just want to be where we're from, in the heart of where we're from, and just try to expand on that. We might expand the footprint a little bit, do outside dining. That's on our menu of doing things like that, and just accentuating something that we've been building for all these years and bringing the best of it. That's our goal.
Now, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Well, you can always come to Lil Dizzy's at 1500 Esplanade Avenue, or you could call the restaurant at 504-766-8687, or you can email us at arkeisha@lildizzy'scafe.net.
Okay, and right quick, where did the name Lil Dizzy's come from?
I'm doing it, or you doing it? It's your kid.
All right, all right. It's out there. Anyway, so we have a son that's 30 this year, and he's been my dad's good luck charm since he was about 2 years old. He named his restaurant Zachary's after him. So that's the one that was in Carrollton. So when my dad retired, he sold Zachary's, got his little nest egg and all that, and wanted to come back after 9 months. He said, I'm gonna name it after Zachary again, but Zachary's was in St. Aug's band, and he played the trumpet, and he was a freshman, and the band director, they give you crab names or something, and he was short and heavy
and chubby,
and they so they named him. He said he got the name Lil Dizzy.
When he blew his horn, his cheeks inflated really big, and so they called him Lil Dizzy for Dizzy Gillespie, and the name just stuck forever.
Like people call him Dizzy now. If he goes back to St. Aug, they call him Dizzy. So that's where we got the name.
Right now, I understand the name.
All right.
All right, Vance, what kind of things do you guys have coming up and planned?
Well, hopefully in about 140 days, our building will be completed in construction. And what we wanted to do, and one of the things that I've seen in that particular strip of St. Bernard Avenue over the years is, after Katrina, we started to see the first signs of gentrification, and you go to community meetings and you start hearing people saying, look, I can't afford to live in, where my grandmother raised me and my parents, and the property value was probably averaging like 100,000 more, and the rent was going up for a double, like 1,800 a side. I mean, it was just, it made it to where we couldn't afford as a community to live where we had always had our roots. And so I just wanted to, in bringing my building back, I partnered with Crest City Community Land Trust, whose mission is to bring back affordable housing. So we're going to carve out 2 apartments. An upstairs apartment is going to be permanently affordable, and then another one's going to be in the back permanently affordable. And then we're going to have our retail there. We wanted to put 2 things back into the community that was always there. A place for our people to be able to afford to live, and also a retail that historically would give the community, not only those that are part of the community for generations, but even our new visitors who have gentrified into the area and who are trying to figure out what our culture is and what our community is. One of our business missions is to welcome them, to educate them on what our culture is, what it is to be of a community, and hopefully send them so that they can understand that what we've had in this area was so unique and so blessed that they can hopefully go around and respect our traditions and our culture, and hopefully understand what it is truly to be a New Orleanian, which is diverse, well put together like an old piece of leather, and make sure that you respect each other. And so we have that, and then we're going to continue to do festivals. We're going to continue to have some online presence with our website and some shipping to all those visitors that come in town. Like I said, just make sure that, and then we've been fortunate enough, thankfully, because of relationships, like Wayne said, Constantine and John asked me to put one of my products in that dog. So we've been fortunate enough through that profile to, again, do business with these families generationally, and just thankful, and hopefully just continue to grow and move forward with these relationships and with what we're trying to do for the community.
Okay. How can our listeners and our watchers get in touch with you and Julie?
Well, we're relaunching a new website. We have an online presence, but we're relaunching a new one. It will be wreaked.com. You can also communicate to us through email at info@wreaked.com. And we have a phone number. It's 1-855-7-CREOLE. That's right, 1-855-7-CREOLE. You can't forget it. We want to make it easy for you to remember, but we want to represent that ward in that number as well. So you can call us, you can email us, you can go to the website, but whatever you do, don't call us late for dinner, because we want to be there. If you're looking for us at Vaucresson's, if you catch us on the downtime, we may be over there getting that chicken that little dizzy. So just don't sleep.
All right, gang, we're almost out of time. I would like to thank Wayne and Arkisha Baque, Vance and Julie Vaucresson so much for joining us for this special version of Conversations in Colors brought to you by Amistad Research Center. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, guys, be sure to stay tuned for the next episode of Conversation in Colors from Amistad Research Center. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.